You're watching Channel 4, the Broncos station.
September 30th in Mile High Stadium. It was a typical Broncos-Raiders game. Physical. Carl Mecklenburg set the tone early when he lowered the boom on Marcus Allen. Place kicker Rich Carlos hit 3 field goals, and Gerald Wilhite added a touchdown as Denver beat the world champion Raiders 16-13. This week, it's rematch time as the Broncos travel to Los Angeles for the battle of the AFC West leaders. We'll scout them both for you next.
This is the Broncos Scouting Report, a preview of today's game. Brought to you by Colorado Chrysler Plymouth, 350 South Havana. By Household Finance. We're backing you with personal and Equity Plus home owner loans. And by Premier Associates, real estate nationwide. And by Metropolitan Aluminum Discount Company, insulated siding specialist since 1958. And now, here's Steve Alvarez.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scouting Report. Well, it's the Denver Broncos at 7-1, facing the Los Angeles Raiders, also at 7-1. And at stake, the lead in the AFC West. You better check your blood pressure before this one. This is the 50th meeting between these two teams, and I guarantee you it'll be like the other 49, a dogfight. But the Broncos head into the Coliseum with a slew of injuries. The worst, of course, is the injury to Clint Sampson. The hit he took in last week's win over Buffalo was a frightening moment that won't soon be forgotten. Thank goodness it looked a lot worse than it really was. Gary Kubiak in for John Elway, looking for Sampson over the middle. Sampson goes up. He's hammered by Don Wilson, the face mask into the chin. He was unconscious for several moments before being flown by helicopter to Buffalo General Hospital. Luckily, he only suffered a mild concussion. I say luckily, it could have been much worse. Lacerations on the lip, chin, and tongue, and a couple of slightly cracked teeth. But the next morning, still sore and kind of groggy, he headed home, and Sampson is now on injured reserve. His injury, of course, was really just the tip of the iceberg. 11 Broncos were hurt in last week's game. So as they spent this week preparing for the Raiders, 10 other men besides Sampson tried to get healthy real quick. Most will make it, but a couple of key players won't. The most serious injuries after Sampson's are the ones suffered by offensive tackle Ken Lanier. He hurt both his left knee and ankle, and he probably won't be ready come game time. Everyone wants to play during Raiders week, but then again, you never want to sit out.
Regardless of what week it is, who you're playing, you always want to play. You never really want to sit around and just watch. You know, it's always within yourself that you want to be out there.
On Tuesday, the Broncos tried to bring tackle Keith Euchre back from injured reserve to help at Lanier's position. But he never cleared the waiver wire. Green Bay picked him up, so now he's a Packer. That means that rookie Winfred Hood draws the starting assignment against All-Pro Howie Long, a pretty tough defensive end.
That's every week. Everybody in the NFL is tough. Howie Long was All-Pro last year, which might isolate him a little bit, but every week is the same thing for me.
Hood played the second half of the last Raiders game after Lanier was thrown out, so he's got some experience against the Raiders, but starting as a rookie, that's different. He knows the Raiders will try to intimidate, but he also knows he's not alone.
The Raiders try to intimidate everybody, so that's already known. I'm just going to have to hold my water. That's it.
John Elway was also on the injury report with a bruised collarbone. Nothing serious until Wednesday. After just a few plays, he had to sit out. His throwing arm too sore to continue. His status was downgraded from probable to questionable, and that means Gary Kubiak could be the starter.
It's exciting. There's pressure there, but it's a chance to go out and have a good game and play over my head and do something for the ball club.
Question is, how much will that change the game plan? Well, Dan Reeves says not at all.
I think John and Gary do basically the same things. They just do it a little bit different. They have a great deal of confidence in what we're doing. Gary's very knowledgeable of what we're trying to do, and I think does a great job. So other than the fact, we lose a little bit because John wouldn't be our starter if he wasn't the best one. Other than that, we'll do very much the same things. It's just more important that our other players pick it up.
And even though he's the backup, Reeves is quick to point out that Kubiak always seems to be ready.
I think Gary prepares himself, always to practice and, to play in case he's needed, which was true last week in Buffalo.
But Elway isn't thinking of Kubiak replacing him. He thinks when he takes the field in the Coliseum, he'll be healthy enough to play.
I'm optimistic. I think that with the type of game this is, it's not going to take a whole lot to keep me from not getting in there. So, you know, I think that once that adrenaline starts flowing, a lot of the pain goes away.
Whether it's Elway or Kubiak, the Broncos will be ready, because this is Raiders week. You guys as psyched up as you need to be for this week already?
I don't think you need to ask me that, do you?
But are they ready for the second half of the season? It's by far a lot tougher than the first half. 6 of their 8 opponents are division rivals, and the AFC West is the toughest division in football.
No question, our division's obviously, I think, the toughest division in the league. And that's who we'll be playing the second half of the season.
Well, it's going to be more of a challenge, but we're also a better team. We've had a chance to work about 8 games together, and when you've had that long to work together, you know, things have become a little more cohesive.
I don't know who made the schedule. Hey, they made it tough in the second half, but, you know, we just got to live up to the challenge.
Well, as it stands right now, Kubiak will start. We won't know right up until kickoff whether or not Elway will be ready to play at all. Meanwhile, the Broncos have activated rookie linebacker Ricky Hundley. He takes Sampson's spot on the roster. In a moment, a look at what the Broncos have in store for the Raiders. We'll show you their game plan for stopping the world champions.
It was the biggest sale of our history, September's 1-cent value sale at Colorado Chrysler Plymouth. In fact, it made us the largest sales volume dealer in Colorado. And due to the overwhelming success, we're bringing it back for 1 week only. That means 1984 New Yorkers and Fifth Avenues at just 1 cent over invoice. Front-wheel drive Lasers, Reliance, and high-mileage Horizons, even LeBaron convertibles and wagons, plus 25 Voyagers and Vistas from $11,999. Really, Denver, this just may be the best time you'll ever have to buy a new car, but through Saturday only at Colorado Chrysler Plymouth.
Household Finance is backing the Raymonds.
We always dreamed that our children would go to college, but it's hard being a parent and still have that balance between loving and letting go, all at the same time.
If you're a homeowner looking to your family's future, Household Finance wants to back you with a homeowner loan that turns equity into capital for your goals.
We're here today giving folks a chance, backing you all the way. Household Finance.
Buying and selling real estate can be serious business. With Premier Associates, it's a pleasure. For over half a decade, Premier Associates has handled residential and commercial property transactions with impeccable knowledge and efficiency. Premier agents answer questions, counsel, and get you all the facts, from finding the right home to financing to closing.
Real estate brokers nationwide. Premier performance counts, with 9 local offices and affiliation with an international referral network.
Save on everything you need for home improvement.
You can do it.
Check our circular in Sunday's paper.
QM Woods.
Right now, you can save on a Clopay garage door opener, just $89.95, including remote control. 2-inch duct tape is now only $288, a 60-yard roll. A 52-inch cane blade hugger ceiling fan is now just $69.95. Be sure to apply for your QM Woods Project Charge Card. It's the best way to start any project. Save now at QM Woods Building Materials.
Don't do it yourself without us.
QM Woods.
Last week in Buffalo's Rich Stadium, John Elway rolling out, plenty of time enough to find Steve Watson 52 yards and a touchdown as Denver blasts the winless Bills 37-7. That was the largest margin of victory in Broncos history, but you better believe things will be a little bit tighter in the Coliseum this week. Still, Denver plans on coming home 8-1.
They're not world champions because they're a bunch of finesse guys. I mean, they're world champions because they are physical. And they're going to get it. I don't want our guys to back down. If somebody comes after them, I'm never going to ask them to do that. But we got to be smart. I mean, we can't go out there looking to start fights and figure to win a football game. We're not out there to fight. We're out there to play football.
Be aggressive, but be smart. That's how Reeves wants his team to play. Don't back down, but don't waste your energy in a brawl and run the risk of being ejected from the game.
And we got to beat them, you know, on the field, not after the play's over.
The Broncos have to stop one tough offense, specifically Marcus Allen. He can run, he can catch. Overall, the Raiders' offense just doesn't have any weak points.
There's a lot of tough things going on out there. It's going to be important for us to shut down the run and then and get to the passer.
Well, that may be a little tougher this time around. Mark Wilson replaces Jim Plunkett, and Wilson is a lot more mobile.
Wilson, I think, has been much more effective than Plunkett was. He gives them the ability to scramble, has more speed, so that's a concern for us defensively.
The offense has its share of problems as well. They face a world championship defense. Here's the matchup. For the Broncos, it's Studdard, Bishop, Bryant, Howard, and Hood up front. The Raiders send Lyle Alzado, Reggie Kinlaw, and Howie Long. Their linebackers are Jeff Barnes, Matt Millen, Bob Nelson, and Rob Martin. The Broncos receivers are Watson and Johnson, the wideouts, Clarence Kay at tight end, Sawyer the H-back. It's either Elway or Kubiak at quarterback, and Winder the running back. The Raiders list Hayes, Haynes, Davis, and McElroy as their defensive backs. The Los Angeles defense has no apparent weaknesses, so how do you attack them?
We will challenge them again in all positions. People going into the last ball game and not really throwing against Lester or Mike at the corners, and we had some success last time, although limited, because you're never going to get wide open against those guys in a bump and run situation.
When you have two athletes as good as they are, they want to protect their reputations. Consequently, they're going to play you a little tougher. And then coming into this game, we were pretty successful last time, so I'm sure they're going to be a little bit more physical this time around.
But the big key will be Denver's ability to control the football.
But to do that, you have to be able to run it.
And that means the pressure's on Sammy Winder. But he knows the Broncos need a good performance from everyone.
We got to attack them, from all angles, and that's what we're going to try to do, basically.
And you got to play them before 92,000 of their fans this time.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a big difference. I'm sure they're going to be really, motivated and fired up, playing at home, and plus that they came in here and then walk away with a victory. That's, going to add to their excitement, so it's going to be a good game.
And that's what you're striving for, is to, two teams 7-1 playing for first place in the division in front of 92,000 people is a great thrill, and it's one of the fun parts of the game, and I think that everyone rises to that occasion. Plus, we've got some guys from Southern California, too, so it's like going home.
If Denver loses, they'll be 7-2 with 7 games left, so it's not the end of the world. But this week is a chance for the Broncos to gain some respect in the National Football League.
Everybody looks at us as 7-1. They're lucky to be 7-1. That may be, but we're 7-1. People keep talking about 28th offense and whatever defense. You don't win games by total yardage. You win games because you score more than opponents did. This is a chance for people for us to show people that we are a good football team.
It's a tough second half of the season for Denver, but I guarantee you right now, all they're seeing is silver and black. Coming up next on the Scouting Report, we'll talk to the Raiders about one of the best rivalries in the NFL.
Buying and selling real estate can be serious business. With Premier Associates, it's a pleasure. For over half a decade, Premier Associates has handled residential and commercial property transactions with impeccable knowledge and efficiency. Premier agents answer questions, counsel, and get you all the facts, from finding the right home to financing to closing.
Real estate brokers nationwide. Premier performance counts, with 9 local offices and affiliation with an international referral network.
It was the biggest sale of our history, September's 1-cent value sale at Colorado Chrysler Plymouth. In fact, it made us the largest sales volume dealer in Colorado. And due to the overwhelming success, we're bringing it back for 1 week only. That means 1984 New Yorkers and Fifth Avenues at just 1 cent over invoice. Front-wheel drive Lasers, Reliance, and high-mileage Horizons, even LeBaron convertibles and wagons, plus 25 Voyagers and Vistas from $11,999. Really, Denver, this just may be the best time you'll ever have to buy a new car, but through Saturday only at Colorado Chrysler Plymouth.
Now is the time. Never paint again. Let Metropolitan Aluminum re-side your home using the most durable vinyl and steel sidings. Save 20 to 40% during our big warehouse sale on insulated never paint sidings, overhangs, and trim. No one does it better. Buy with confidence and save. For a free siding estimate, call 744-3255. Your never paint siding headquarters since 1958. Metropolitan Aluminum Discount Company.
Household Finance is backing the Bitterittons.
I didn't know how our son would feel about his new sister. Naturally, we had to build a room onto the house for her, but I couldn't let him think he was any less important than the moment he came into my life.
If your homeowner is working for your family's future, Household Finance wants to back you with a homeowner loan that turns equity into capital for your goals.
We're here today giving folks a chance, backing you all the way. Household Finance.
Talent, and because they have a lot of depth, Last week, Mark Wilson subbing for Jim Plunkett. Wilson hits Dokie Williams for one of 5 touchdown passes as L.A. beats the Chargers 44-37. Now, image-wise, the Raiders and the Broncos are worlds apart, but you'd be surprised as to how the Raiders view themselves.
The Raiders. The name says it all. The silver and black, the perennial bad boys of football. But surprisingly, they don't see it that way. In fact, they don't see themselves as being much different than the Broncos.
I don't think it's a lot of difference, really. I don't think it's a lot of difference. I think it's a territorial thing, and the colors that we wear are different in that. But we play here with the same kind of intensity, that they play in Denver, and I think that's going to make for a real big contest coming up real soon.
Greg Boyd ought to know. He's played in a lot of Raiders-Broncos games, but always in a Broncos uniform. This will be his first time on the other side of the field. Teammate Howie Long says there's another guy in a Bronco uniform right now who's more of a Raider than he knows.
If there's ever a Raider in a Bronco uniform, it's Tom Jackson. So, he's looking at a mirror image of himself when he sees a Raider uniform.
So much for the similarities. What about the differences? Well, how about the fact that the Broncos offense, rated at the bottom of the NFL, must face one of the league's best defenses, while the Raiders' potent offense must face the stingiest defense in the league. Last time, it was Jim Plunkett at the helm. This time, it's fifth-year man Mark Wilson. As a backup, he's no slouch. He threw for 5 touchdowns against the Chargers. But he knows the Broncos will be a lot tougher.
We recognize they're a very sound, very good defensive football team offensively as well. So we just have to go in and play the best football that we can, and if we expect to win and hopefully score more than 13 points, that's going to be the key.
Here's the matchup. For the Raiders on offense, it's Bruce Davis, Charlie Hanna, Dave Dalby, Don Mosbar, and Henry Lawrence up front. They'll face Chavis, Carter, and Jones, with Ryan, Dennison, Busick, and Jackson at linebacker. The Raiders' wide receivers are Cliff Branch and Malcolm Barnwell, with All-Pro Todd Christensen at tight end. It's Wilson at quarterback, with Kenny King and Marcus Allen the running backs. Denver will play Wright and Harden at the corners, with Foley and Smith the safeties. Since their 16-13 loss in Mile High Stadium, the Raiders have been saying they just weren't ready to play that Sunday, that the Broncos caught them off guard. But they say they'll be ready this week. Still, they don't have anything to prove.
I just think at this point in the season, it's the biggest game to date in the year for both teams.
They're thinking this is a championship game. This is a big game of the year. We're approaching it like it's Denver's one of the better teams in the NFL now, and we're approaching that, and our players are approaching it like it's playoff time.
It's not really a grudge match or anything of that nature. It's just a matter of trying to win the game and continue our streak trying to get into the playoffs. That's what it's all about. And so in that respect, no, it's just a matter of us trying to win and get further towards the playoffs.
Their fans would sure like to see them beat the Broncos. In fact, about 90,000 will be on hand to watch what they hope will be win number 8. It took a while for them to catch on, but the Raiders are finally beginning to get some support in their new neighborhood.
Last year, I would honestly have said no, but I think because of the Super Bowl, because of some early wins, I think that we're getting more support, and that's good for us and for the community as well.
So I think for the most part they have. I mean, a good portion of them have, but once again, you come to Los Angeles, you can go watch the Raiders, or you can go watch the Rams, or you can go to the beach and watch the bikinis, and there's an awful lot of things to do here,
Drive around town and you see Raider bumper stickers all over the place, and signs, Raiders, so the town has become alive.
And they're hoping their fans will be as alive as the Broncos fans are in Mile High.
Fans up there go crazy every time we go up there. I mean, it's like it's the biggest day of the year, which is great for Denver, but it's not so great for LA. And hopefully we'll have that kind of fan support this weekend.
So 90,000 or so will cheer on their Raiders. September 30th was a different story. They were almost booed out of Mile High. And the man who caught the brunt of that abuse was former Bronco Lyle Alzado. Well, the fans may hate him, but his former teammates don't.
Alzado has played for both the fabled Orange Crush defense and now the silver and black of the Raiders, both suited to his personality. Rough, aggressive, spirited. His former teammates remember him as just that.
Tremendous ball player. Lot of aggression on the football field. Great pass rush. Strong as an ox. Dedicated to winning.
Lyle's a good football player. You know, he's tough. And, you know, if he gets mad, you know, anything can happen.
So having a guy like Alzado on your team can be fun, sometimes.
Lyle's a very moody individual. You know, one day he would be hugging, kissing you, and the next, you know, he might be hitting you in the mouth. So, you know, he was very up and down, but I like Lyle a lot. We're good friends.
His aggressive play may give him a bad image on the field, but his friends will tell you he's well-liked because Alzado is some kind of character, a guy who's into everything. From amateur boxing that led to a bout with Muhammad Ali to his latest craze, an aerobics exercise videotape.
You don't do it, I'm going to rip your lips off.
Have you seen his latest videotape on aerobics?
No, I haven't, but I've heard about it, and I heard it's quite cute.
Are you surprised that he does something like that?
No, not at all.
Nothing from Lyle Alzado surprises you?
No, nothing from Lyle. You never know what he's going to come up with next.
Who knows what his next act will be? With Alzado, you never know. But one thing's for sure, you can bet he'll attack it at full speed.
For Lyle, it seems to be a kind of a rushing toward life. He rushes to live every minute of it. And you tend to see Lyle on lots of different things, you know, working in lots of different areas of his life. And the thing I think that you have to look at is that he's been successful with lots of things that he's done. So for that, I'm pleased for Lyle, and Lyle knows I'm proud of him, even though he's wearing silver and black.
Begin. 1, 2, 3.
Makes you want to go exercise, doesn't it? While Alzado is the man to hate, Rich Carlos is the man everybody likes here in Denver. And in a moment, a look at a special blind date for Rich Carlos.
Household Finance is backing Tom Emmerich.
I try and go on a one-on-one basis. You tell a person what's expected of them, they're going to do it. And I think there's a lot of personal pride and satisfaction in what a person does.
If you're working for a better life, like Tom Emmerich, you're the person we want to back at Household Finance with personal loans up to $5,000 or more.
We're here today giving folks a chance, backing you all the way. Household Finance.
It was the biggest sale of our history, September's 1-cent value sale at Colorado Chrysler Plymouth. In fact, it made us the largest sales volume dealer in Colorado. And due to the overwhelming success, we're bringing it back for 1 week only. That means 1984 New Yorkers and Fifth Avenues at just 1 cent over invoice. Front-wheel drive Lasers, Reliance, and high-mileage Horizons, even LeBaron convertibles and wagons, plus 25 Voyagers and Vistas from $11,999. Really, Denver, this just may be the best time you'll ever have to buy a new car, but through Saturday only at Colorado Chrysler Plymouth.
Save on everything you need for home improvement.
You can do it.
Check our circular in Sunday's paper.
Woods.
Right now, you can save on a Clopay garage door opener, just $89.95, including remote control. 2-inch duct tape is now only $288, a 60-yard roll. A 52-inch cane blade hugger ceiling fan is now just $69.95. Be sure to apply for your Woods Project Charge Card. It's the best way to start any project. Save now at Woods Building Materials.
Don't do it yourself without us.
Woods.
Buying and selling real estate can be serious business. With Premier Associates, it's a pleasure. For over half a decade, Premier Associates has handled residential and commercial property transactions with impeccable knowledge and efficiency. Premier agents answer questions, counsel, and get you all the facts, from finding the right home to financing to closing.
Real estate brokers nationwide. Premier performance counts with 9 local offices and affiliation with an international referral network.
Last week, the people at First Trust Corporation here in Denver wanted to do something nice for their favorite employee, their receptionist, Kathy Dunn. So without telling her, they arranged a special blind date with Rich Carlos while raising a lot of money for a very worthy cause.
You know, we do a lot of Broncos stories here on Channel 4, but this one's a little bit different. See, it's sort of a cross between the love connection and anything for money. Rich Carlos raises money for Family Tree through Points for People. The donations come from the fans.
Well, it seems a lot of the folks here at First Trust want to donate to Points for People, but only if Rich Carlos will go on a blind date with one of their secretaries. I got the letter. I don't know. Rich, when's the last time you were on a blind date?
It's been quite a while, but I'm looking forward to this one.
You think she's going to look forward to it?
The scouting report is outstanding.
Go. Are you nervous, big guy?
I'm getting even more nervous. My feet are starting to sweat.
Keep your shoe on.
Okay.
This is exciting. Here they come. Shh. Wow. What a moment. Do you think you did all right for your first blind date?
I think this is pretty much the best, even non-blind. This is probably the best I've ever done. Okay.
Okay, kids, it's time for lunch. Sir James, tell the lovely couple what they've won.
Richard and Kathy will be whisked away by a chauffeur-driven Mercedes-Benz limousine. Then they'll enjoy the old-world charm of the Oxford Hotel. The setting here provides the perfect ambiance for a most romantic afternoon repast.
Okay, kids, come on. Come on over here. Listen, how was lunch?
It was excellent.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Would you ever go out with him again?
How much do you think he'd pay me?
Would you ever go out with her again?
Of course.
So it's a date then. I love happy endings.
Does the station pay for the second one? If did the audience
say goodbye, Rich?
Goodbye, Rich.
Steve Alvarez, News Center for Sports. I love happy endings. This is great. Well, that same day in Boulder, another Bronco was also doing something special. Guard Keith Bishop visited young Nicholas Schlesinger in the hospital in Boulder. Nicholas suffered a severe head injury in an automobile accident last Saturday. Bishop took 2 hours out of his time on his day off to spend with Nick on Tuesday, just chatting and having fun. And Nick's since been moved to a rehabilitation center where he's making progress, thanks in part to some kind words and a warm smile from Keith Bishop. And that's the kind of character that makes this team so well loved here in Colorado. And you got to love the AFC West because they are still the winningest division in football. Take a look at the standings this week as we head into the second half of the season. It's Denver at 7-1, LA in 7-1. They'll match it up in the Coliseum, 2 o'clock kickoff time. Seattle at 6-2, San Diego and Kansas City tied at 4-4. Looking at the matchups for this week, Tampa Bay with former Broncos quarterback Steve DeBerg at Kansas City. That's the only non-conference game in the AFC West this week. Then it's Denver at Los Angeles in the Coliseum. And on Monday night, it's Seattle at San Diego. If Seattle wins, they will be tied with a loser of the Broncos-Raiders game for second place at 7-2. So it's the Broncos against the Raiders. Now, the Raiders are the favorites, but then again, they were expected to win the last time. For our producer, Bob Burke, and our director, Dan Neighbors, I'm Steve Alvarez. We'll see you next week on the Broncos Scouting Report.
This has been the Broncos Scouting Report, a preview of today's game. Brought to you by Colorado Chrysler Plymouth, 350 South Havana. By Household Finance. We're backing you with personal and Equity Plus homeowner loans. By Premier Associates, real estate nationwide. And by Metropolitan Aluminum Discount Company, insulated siding specialist since 1958. Featured guest, receive an AT&T Nomad cordless telephone, courtesy of True Value Hardware Stores, or a rugged Casio water sport watch, a winner at fine department stores. This has been a Channel 4 sports presentation.
Channel 4, the Broncos station.
It's week 9 of NFL 84, and coming up on NBC, perhaps the biggest game of the season so far. First place at stake in the AFC West as the Broncos and Raiders, both at 7-1, collide at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Defense is the key for the Broncos, who earlier this year at Mile High Stadium beat the Raiders 16-13. Mark Wilson now at the controls for LA. He threw 5 touchdown passes a week ago against San Diego. And at the Orange Bowl today, Dan Marino leads the Dolphins against Buffalo. It's all coming up next on NFL 84.
NFL 84 is brought to you by Volkswagen's new Volkswagens. See them on November 15th. By Delta Faucet. We're first because we last. And by Ricoh Corporation, makers of automated office equipment and cameras.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Bob Costas at our NFL 84 studios in New York, along with Bill McAtee, Ahmad Rashad, and Pete Axthelm. Coming up on the pregame show, Bill visits with the Denver Broncos, tries to answer the question, is the Orange Crush defense really back? We may find out today in Los Angeles when they go against the Raiders. As always, it's a sad fact of football life that knee injuries seem to pile up week after week. Last Sunday, for example, Billy Sims of the Lions, Kellen Winslow of the Chargers, center Jeff Bostic of the Redskins all had their seasons ended prematurely. We'll get the perspectives of Ahmad Rashad as a former player and Dr. Ferdy Pacheco as a medical man on that rash of knee injuries in the NFL. And as always, Pete Axthelm has his weekly essay. This time he observes that Leo DeRocher might have been right about football as well as baseball. Sometimes, in fact, nice guys do finish last. First of all, you'll see one of these two games, either Denver and the Raiders or Buffalo at Miami. And with kickoffs less than half an hour away, let's take you out to the sites.
In Los Angeles, all the ingredients for a superb football entree. The weather is perfect. The crowd, 90,000, largest in the NFL this year, and two teams battling for first place. The Raiders and the Broncos, they're both 7-1. Injury news, Merlin Olsen first for the Raiders. Cliff Branch, outstanding receiver. He will not play today. Two non-starters for Denver. Quarterback John Elway and offensive tackle Ken Lanier. What's the impact?
With Lanier out, they lose some control on the line of scrimmage. That was the reason for their victory, they felt, in Denver. And certainly Kubiak not nearly the passer that Elway is. That hurts Denver.
Do you think we'll see Elway?
I don't think we're going to see him. I talked to him before the game. He's hurting.
How about Cliff Branch not playing?
Raider depth pays off here, Dick, as they put in Dokie Williams. They don't lose much. Dokie's a fine receiver.
He's young, but he's a carbon copy of Branch. And, of course, the great equalizer is defense. And the Denver Broncos, that Orange Crush, have allowed less points than anyone in the NFL. We'll take a closer look at the Orange Crush and Bill McAtee as we go back to New York.
Okay, it was an eventful week in the NFL, some comings and goings, the season's first two coaching changes. Sam Rutigliano, one of the most popular figures in the NFL, out as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. With the team at 1-7, owner Art Modell reluctantly replaced Sam with defensive coordinator Marty Schottenheimer. And the soap opera continues in New England. Ron Meyer gets the pink slip, and Hall of Fame receiver and former New England assistant coach Raymond Berry becomes the new head coach. We'll tell you how these new coaches are doing in their respective debuts today. Those games underway in just a couple of minutes. Another move this week, Ken Stabler, who had planned to call it quits at the end of the season at age 39, decides that now is the time to quit. So his pro football career, one of the most heralded of all time, is over with, and I know, Axe, that he was always among your favorites.
Yes, Bob, so many memories. One that came to mind was the night that Kenny and I managed to consume all the cognac in Selma, Alabama. Fortunately, Selma's a pretty small town. I also think it's fitting that Kenny's taking off like this, hitting the road on a moment's notice, because as songwriter Tom T. Hall has written, and Kenny fills the bill, his heroes have always been highways. Let's get to the picks in the late games. 49ers are 3 at the Rams. The Rams, of course, are 0-6 after televised games, 0-6 after Atlanta. Both factors working in this one. 49ers a good road favorite, 49ers minus the 3. Then the Raiders are 7 over the Broncos. We'll talk about the Bronco defense later in the show. Have you noticed in their last 6 straight victories, they have not given up more than 14 points? This is a strong team. Kubiak for Elway, that's definite today. I don't think it's really going to hurt the Broncos too much. And, you know, everyone thinks of the Raiders. They're rough, they're tough, they love revenge. True fact is they're 3-8 against the spread in divisional revenge games. I'm sticking with the Broncos to keep it close, plus the 7.
Now, I noticed you didn't pick the Miami-Buffalo game. A week ago, Miami's at New England, and you announced to everyone, oh, it breaks my heart to pick against the Dolphins. You didn't have to. They won easily.
Broke my heart and broke my wallet, and you won't find me doing it again very soon.
All right, Axe, maybe you can recoup your losses today. We'll check at day's end. Now a chance to check on the scoreboard. The Jets at New England. Raymond Berry's coaching debut with the Patriots. The Jets were winning 20-3 at one point. New England has rallied to cut it to 20-16. This is first half action. Freeman McNeil, a 53-yard run from scrimmage. McNeil, Lamb Jones, Wesley Walker all back in the Jet lineup today. However, Pat Ryan, the quarterback, shaken up, replaced by Ken O'Brien, and defensive lineman Joe Klecko also knocked out of the game with an elbow injury. After that run you just saw by McNeil, the Jets scored a touchdown on a Ken O'Brien touchdown pass, but their lead now has been shaved to 20-16 in the fourth quarter. Dallas is in front of Indianapolis also in the fourth, on their way to an easy win. 22-0 is the score. Danny White making his first start of the season for the Cowboys through 2 first-half touchdown passes. This was the first one, 38 yards to Tony Hill. Later he hit Doug Cosby from 5 yards out. Rafael Septien has kicked 3 field goals, 22-zip in favor of the Cowboys. 16-0, Chicago leading Minnesota in the fourth. Walter Payton has passed 1,000 yards for the year, and Pittsburgh looking to go to 5-4 on the season, romping at home against Atlanta 28-3. Mark Malone has twice hit John Stallworth for TDs.
All right, Bob. St. Louis and Philadelphia, the Cardinals have beaten in successive weeks Dallas, Chicago, and Washington. They're on the verge of beating Philadelphia today. They've just scored again, so the score is now 31-14. A big day for Neil Lomax. Tampa Bay and Kansas City, 14-13. This was a close one at Arrowhead Stadium. Cincinnati and Houston, the Bengals have opened it up. It is 31-13. Bengals offense has struggled, so today Sam White went back to his veteran as Ken Anderson started quarterback. Anderson moved the club. Here's a touchdown pass to Larry Kennebrew, who has scored 3 on the day. It is 31-13. The Bengals lead it. Detroit and Green Bay, 38-9. Lynn Dickey has been spectacular. 4 touchdown passes. New Orleans and Cleveland. Marty Schottenheimer's debut as the Browns head coach, and the Browns lead it by a score of 14-10, Bob.
You know, an interesting thing, the Browns were 1-7 when Sam Rutigliano was fired, and yet 4 or 5 of those losses were by the slimmest of margins. They could easily have been 4-4.
Lost 4 straight by 12 points. Yeah.
And interesting, too, when you talk about that AFC Central, you mentioned the Bengals romping against Houston. They're going to be, what, 3-6, and actually not out of the hunt in that division.
It's not a tough division. It doesn't look like to win this year after being spectacular in the past.
All right, Bill, don't go away, because we're going to put you right back to work following this commercial message with your report on the Denver Broncos and their tough defense.
In the 1940s, we saw the first long-playing record, the first top-loading automatic washer, and the car that revolutionized transportation. In the 70s, we saw the first food processor, the first video cassette recorder, and the car that became the most copied in the world. In the 80s, we've already seen the first simple home computer and the very first space shuttle. So now, what's coming from Volkswagen? Call 1-800-85-VOLKS.
The beauty of a Delta faucet is, when it's on, it's on. And when it's off, it's off. Its washerless design helps keep it from dripping, so it lasts and lasts and lasts. Delta faucet. We're first because we last.
Hold on! Can anyone here name a copier maker that's bigger than Ricoh?
Xerox.
Ricoh's bigger.
IBM?
Ricoh's bigger.
And we got to be bigger than Xerox by making a full line of copiers that win top marks for quality, like this Ricoh 6080 console copier.
What a revelation.
Now, are you still overlooking Ricoh and the Ricoh 6080? Call Ricoh. We respond.
Dick, send this by Emory to Pittsburgh. And if it's not there by 10:30 tomorrow, I'm holding you personally responsible.
Send this by airborne to San Diego. And if it's not there by 10:30 a.m., Dick, you're in big trouble.
Send this by Purelator to Seattle. And better get there by 10:30, Dick.
If you were in Dick's shoes, you'd probably do what Dick's going to do.
Hello, Federal.
Federal Express. Why fool around with anyone else?
And welcome back to NFL 84. Bill McAtee is with us now. Bill, the Denver Broncos have permitted their opponents an average of fewer than 13 points a game. And 13 is the exact number they allowed the Raiders in beating them 16-13 earlier this season. Is it fair to say that the Orange Crush defense is back?
It's more like Crush Light. I don't think they're quite as intimidating as they were in 1977. However, they're off to their best start since going to the Super Bowl that year at 7-1. And almost to a man, the Broncos will tell you that the first game against the Raiders was a turning point for this team. Bob mentioned defense. Statistically, they don't rank high in offensive or defensive efficiency. But the bottom line is the end zone. And there, the Broncos have been very effective. In Denver, the D on the Bronco helmet could just as well stand for defense. Through Week 8, Denver has allowed the fewest points in the NFL. And the 84 edition of Orange Crush has also been able to score. 2 weeks ago in the snow against Green Bay, the Bronco defense had turned 2 fumbles into touchdowns before the offense took possession.
That's probably the most unusual situation I've been around in my 10 years. I think Steve Foley had just picked up a fumble one play before. Defense came back on the field almost the exact play. The ball was laying on the ground. I got a great block from Dennis Smith and Tom Jackson, and it was just the end zone there, and I got there. I've never seen that happen before, 2 fumbles like that for touchdowns. Through the first half of this season, no team has been thrown on more than Denver, but the Broncos have been opportunistic against the pass and lead the NFL in interceptions and net takeaways. Anytime our defense gets the ball, I think the first thought is where's the end zone and can you get there? I think our defense really strives on trying to score some points, and in any situation when we come up with the ball, I think everybody on defense is thinking end zone and trying to get there as quickly as they can. Credit for Denver's success on defense goes to one of those guys the public rarely hears about. Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator, who's been around the league since the AFL was formed in 1960. And he suddenly has the Denver defense thinking about the end zone as much as the Denver offense.
We've had some good years with interceptions and fumble recoveries, but this year we seem to be getting more than our normal share. I think perhaps people are having a little bit more difficult time running against us. I think we're playing the run defense pretty well except for one game. And consequently, I think they're throwing the ball more. Whenever you throw the ball more, you're going to just get more opportunities to get some interceptions. And if we're able to give our offense a chance to win the ball game, that's our primary duty as far as I'm concerned.
One of the benefactors of the performance thus far by the Denver defense has been John Elway. The pressure of his highly publicized entrance into the NFL a year ago has subsided, and there have been no more embarrassing rookie moments, such as the time Elway lined up in the wrong position.
It was just something that was hard to deal with. Expectations were great, and I wasn't given the opportunity or the affordability of walking in on my feet. I walked in 3 feet above and expected to turn everything around, which I knew I couldn't do. I was just going to do the best I could. So it was a long year for me, but I think that I'm benefiting a lot this year from last year.
He's not looking for the individual glory of, say, throwing a lot of touchdown passes. He's willing to sacrifice individual performances for the team's sake, and he's perfectly satisfied to run the ball 50 times a game and throw it 10 as long as we win.
While Elway continues to learn the complexities of the NFL game, a measure of his raw talent was demonstrated last week as Elway drilled Steve Watson 52 yards away. With Sammy Winder ranked 3rd in the AFC in rushing, the Broncos have a diverse but still not an overpowering offense.
We're still not the type that's going to say, well, we're going to go out here and we're going to run the football on you right now and do it. We've got to keep people off balance and move the pocket around and try to keep the pressure off everybody so we can just go out and relax and have fun.
If you look at it from a total yardage standpoint, both offensively and defensively, we're not a very good football team. I don't think you can convince our players that we're not a very good football team. And that's a big part of it. As long as you think you can win, then you're always in every football game that you're in.
John Elway will not start today. Gary Kubiak instead will start. He's one of those individuals that surprised everybody by making the final cut this year and last year, and yet every time he's been called on to do the job, he's done it for Denver.
Bill, a week ago, your story was on Ron Meyer and the New England Patriots, and you mentioned at length the dissension on that team, so it couldn't have come as a terrible surprise when Meyer was fired this week.
Ron contends it wasn't the entire team. He said it was a core of players that were upset that he came in off a 2-14 team and had to make a lot of changes. He said the atmosphere there was like a country club, and ironically, Raymond Berry comes in now, and Berry was an assistant on the 2-14 team.
One of the assistants swept out, and now you have to worry about all the assistants that Meyer brought with him from SMU. The majority of the staff now in New England, they have to be in jeopardy under the new regime. So the soap opera continues in Foxborough. NFL 84 continues after these messages as Dr. Ferdy Pacheco and Ahmad Rashad give us their viewpoints on knee injuries in the National Football League. Stay with us.
Test pilot Chuck Yeager for AC Delco.
This flight doesn't get scrubbed for bad weather. A high-performance fighter has the technology to handle it. So does this, the all-weather Delco Freedom Battery, with the power to start you in the cold and the technology to beat the heat. And you never add a drop of water. Never wait for trouble. Get the all-weather Delco Freedom Battery.
From $39.95 for a Series 40, call 800 AC Delco.
What more could we ask of you? To be any more eager to help? Readier to show some affection? prove your devotion. Who better deserves to be honored on stamps? If you've never collected stamps before, now you can start with something you love, the new dog stamps. Now at the post office.
People think I'm a tough guy. Maybe, but I'm not stupid. I wear the right gear. I'm careful out there.
I take care of myself out here, too, because on this field, things happen even faster. You've got to protect yourself. Never drink when you ride. Think safety. You never know what you're going to run into.
Winners ride safely, an important reminder from Honda.
The list of NFL notables sidelined for the season by knee injuries grew again last Sunday. It now includes center Jeff Bostic of the Redskins, running back Billy Sims of the Lions, tight end Kellen Winslow of the San Diego Chargers. Just what do these knee injuries entail from a medical standpoint? And is there any way to lessen their number? Well, here's NBC's Dr. Ferdy Pacheco with his viewpoint.
Every weekend, we see a procession of sports doctors come on and tell you about knee injuries. They talk about medial collateral ligaments. They talk about cruciate ligaments. And the guy at home says, what's he talking about? Well, today I'm going to tell you what he's talking about. The knee is the best engineered of all joints, but the weakest of all joints because it's not protected by large muscles, as is the hip, as is the shoulder. The body expects the knee to support it and to bend forward, but not backward. It expects it to be able to rotate the body on that axis, but not too much. So the body has lashed it together with ropes and pads, which you call ligaments and cartilages. But look, let me show you on a model what I'm talking about. This is the knee joint supporting the entire upper body structure. This is the upper part of the body. This is the lower part of the body. Obviously, it's got to be lashed together. That's one ligament on the outside. That's one ligament on the inside. And inside, an X to hold it in place and keep the body from rocking back and forth. These little projections, ear-like, are cartilages. They're made of the same substance as ears, and they're cut. The anterior cruciate ligament that you're looking at right here is the one that popped with Kellen Winslow. And that happens this way. When this is hooked onto the ground by either being held or because of cleats and hit on the top, this goes back. You can see that that's going to pop the cruciate ligament. Now, this can be fixed two ways. Either you lay the knee open the old way, or the new way, you put a tube in there, orthoscopic surgery, and repair it from inside. Those are the basic injuries that you see in professional football. There's a controversy raging right now with the players and the owners about grass or artificial turf, which causes the most knee injuries. When you really look at it, you're left with one conclusion. The men are getting bigger, the equipment is getting bigger, they're getting faster, but the ligaments remain the same. Therefore, you're always going to have knee injuries in football. As long as grown men go out every Sunday to play the hard game of football, you're going to have knee injuries. You can't avoid them. What we can do is perfect better techniques to fix them.
All right, we thank Ferdy Pacheco for that report. Ahmad Rashad is with us now. Ahmad, in the middle of your career, 1975 with Buffalo, you missed a season because of a knee injury. How did it occur?
You know, it's interesting, Bob, because every time a player gets hurt, you immediately know the extent of that injury as soon as it happens. I can recall diving for a pass, having a player come in and take my knee out, and immediately I knew something was wrong. But you go through a process of denying it, saying that, no, my knee's okay. And the reality didn't set in for me until the next day when I woke up with a cast on my leg.
Now, you were able to come back and have a number of great years after that, but how strenuous was the rehabilitation?
The rehab is so important. You know, you read all these things after a player gets hurt saying he'll never be 100%. Well, once you get a surgery, the adjustment is adjusting to that 90% efficiency. You know, you become irritable psychologically because you're so preoccupied with the rehabilitation. I recall being at home at my parents' house in pain all the time, and my mother coming in and saying, you know, I know you're in pain, and it's in your knee, but you're giving me a pain, and it's not in my knee.
So in addition to the hours and hours every day physically, there's also the adjustment psychologically. How big a factor is AstroTurf in all this?
AstroTurf is maybe a small part of it, but you're going to get hurt. I mean, injuries in football are synonymous. Whether you're playing on AstroTurf or natural turf, you've got to go out and be aware of injuries.
Ahmad, thanks very much. Stay with us now. Pete Axthelm is on deck, and his feature about nice guys finishing last. It happens sometimes in football, just as it did in baseball, according to Leo DeRocher's observation. Ax will be with us next.
Which
computer company is making more room in the computer room? A company with the technology to build a computer system that's more powerful and more reliable than its older cousins, but a whole lot smaller. That company is NCR.
Hello? Your new computer's here.
Their computer's everything the big computers were, except big. Innovative computer technology. You can expect it from NCR.